Something that ain't dangerous.
How about this?
Some things may be a little strange for us, but listen to this.
Yeah, we could start a new direction, affecting the future ahead, spreading smiles for miles, a new kind of trend.
Want a new style?
How about this?
Let's talk about something that's courageous.
How about this?
Let's talk about something that's outrageous.
Put this at the top of your list.
Yeah, we can start a new direction, affecting the future ahead.
Spreading smiles for miles, a new kind of trend.
Want a new style? Hey.
How about this?
Come on, hit me up with the pickup, y'all.
If you're stuck and gonna sit at home,
Live it up, live it up, live it up for me.
You're not alone.
We can live this world from quarantine.
Pick it up, just pick it up. Take this shot with me. Spread a smile, not something else. 'Cause this world is really needing your help. Spread a smile and nothing more, and we'll show this world it can be restored. You wanna smile? How about this?
Oh, yeah.
if you're stuck and gonna sit at home,
Live it up, live it up, live it up with me. We can live this world while quarantined. Pick it up, just pick it up.
Take this shot
With me, yeah.
Not something else. This world is really needing your help. Spread a smile and nothing more. Nothing more. This world it can be restored. Spread a smile. Stay well. Stay strong. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. How about this?
Good morning and welcome to your Sunday service on this beautiful Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. Now, the topic for today, or the main thing of today, like the whole day, is salvation. What is salvation? Salvation is being freed of grief, sorrow, and all the negative things that one could possibly imagine or one would possibly deal with. That is going to be covered very much today. Now, also today, we'll be observing some of the practices and beliefs of the church, the history of Easter, and some of the traditions that come along with the holiday. What personal integrity is and how it can be used by you. And then we'll also be having a look at the answer to salvation, the salvation of man's soul, something that has been sought after and spoke of for countless years. Now, before we begin with the reading of the Creed of the Church of Scientology or the viewing of the video, I would like to define a word for you. That word is inalienable. Something that is inalienable is innately yours, and it cannot be taken away from you or given away by you. So it's yours to stay. So if you have inalienable rights, they're rights that belong to you and will forever be yours. With that being said, let's have a look at the video for the Creed of the Church of Scientology.
We of the church believe
that all men, of whatever race, color, or creed,
were created with equal rights.
That all men have inalienable rights
to their own religious practices and their performance.
That all men have inalienable rights
to their own lives.
That all men have inalienable rights
to their sanity.
That all men have inalienable rights
to their own defense.
That all men have inalienable rights
to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organizations, churches, and governments.
That all men have inalienable rights
to think freely, to talk freely,
to write freely their own opinions,
and to counter or utter
or write upon the opinions of others.
That all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind.
That the souls of men have the rights of men.
That the study of the mind
and the healing of mentally caused ills
should not be alienated from religion
or condoned in non-religious fields.
And that no agency less than God
has the power to suspend or set aside these rights, overtly or covertly.
And we of the church believe
that man is basically good.
That he is seeking to survive.
That his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows.
And his attainment of brotherhood with the universe.
And we of the church believe
that the laws of God forbid man
to destroy his own kind,
to destroy the sanity of another,
to destroy or enslave another's soul,
to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group.
And we of the church believe
that the spirit can be saved, and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body.
Now that you've seen some of the key principles and the key beliefs of the church, I hope that you're able to take these truths and use them and walk with your head held high and beam with the radiance of the sun. Now, let's look at the holiday that we have in present, which is Easter. Where does the name come from? Why is it so important? The message behind Easter is the resurrection of new life. This goes as far back as the ancient Sumerians' goddess Ishtar to Horus, the Egyptian god, forwarding to the death and resurrection of Christ, with many others not mentioned as well. How did it get its name? Well, according to St. Bede the Venerable, who was a British monk, he stated that Easter came from the Anglo-Saxon goddess of spring and fertility, Eoster. She was celebrated during the spring equinox, which on the old Germanic calendar was the equivalent month to Easter, was the equivalent month to April, which was called Astarmadon, or Easter month. Now, in present day, Easter is observed as the day that Jesus, the Savior of the Christian religion, was resurrected on the third day of his death, crushing the power of spiritual death, so that the believers could be freed from the bondage of sin and lead a more hopeful life. Now, there's a lot more that could be said about Easter, but I would leave that up to your inquisitive minds. But the meaning that we all can agree on and take is that new life can begin and that it is possible to renew oneself and lead forward a new life. And with that being said, let's see how personal integrity will help you with the new life that you may wish to lead. Personal Integrity by L. Ron Hubbard. What is true for you is what you have observed yourself. And when you lose that, you have lost everything. What is personal integrity? Personal integrity is knowing what you know. What you know is what you know. And to have the courage to know and say what you have observed, and that is integrity. And there is no other integrity. Of course, we can talk about honor, truth, all these things, these esoteric terms. But I think they'd all be covered very well if what we really observed was what we observed. That we took care to observe what we were observing, and that we always observed to observe. And not necessarily maintaining a skeptical attitude, a critical attitude, or an open mind, but certainly maintaining sufficient personal integrity and sufficient personal belief and confidence in self, and courage that we can observe what we observe and say what we have observed. Nothing in Dianetics and Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it, and it is true according to your observation. That is all. Now, having a look at what today is all about, which is salvation, freeing man's soul, I would like to take the time out to give you an invitation to freedom and let you know that man can save his soul. Written by L. Ron Hubbard. For countless ages, a goal of religion has been the salvage of the human soul. Man has tried by many practices to find the pathway to salvation. He has held the imperishable hope that someday, in some way, he would be free. Man has spoken of the second coming of Christ and of the judgment day. America has kept wide the doorway for the salvation by retaining religious freedom. And here, after these ages of grief and suffering, through terrible wars and catastrophe, the hope still lives. And with that hope, accomplishment. Man can save his soul, like the bright, cool dawn after a night of prison and thunder. Man can taste the freedom so long sought. There are those who will say that only after a lifetime of sacrifice and good doing can the soul be free, that God demands conditions in the freedom, and that some have the power of making mankind slaves. But these things too have answers, and all we tell you now is that we can be free. Many can be free in a few days. The souls of some can be saved in hours. Those deeply steeped in materialism can be salvaged in months or years. As Christ said, the innocent can first be saved. In a little time, in minutes, the child can be saved. But the rich and the mighty, the enslaver and the destroyer would lag behind for years. But they too can be saved. If the Christian in Rome had been given this news that his salvation was imminent, he would have believed and rejoiced. But this is not Rome. And Christ is 2,000 years crucified, a long time. A time to forget, a time to disbelieve. Today, perhaps, a church or a man of God might spit upon Christ himself if he came to call. What you hear here is factually, literally true. The salvation hoped for these past 2,000 years is here. It has not come with blares of trumpets or the flare and flash of flame. It has come quietly, and you are at all sure you should believe it. And the salvation itself is not done by sudden drama or a walk on gleaming clouds. It is done quietly in a chair as a part of a group of people like yourself. And you don't have to go to heaven or hell if you don't want to. You can be entirely free to go anywhere. And you can be immortal and yet have your body, your family, your friends. We are extending to you the precious gift of freedom and immortality, factually, honestly. You are a spirit. You are your own soul. You are not mortal. You can be free. The arms of God are open to you. Scientology is the subject of knowing how to know. The mysteries exist, the mysteries of life and existence in Scientology before man's eyes. The ministers trained in Scientology know how to know, and they know, too, how to set you free from pain, from grief, from suffering, from the endless despair of this vale of tears. We will not mislead you. We have as a part of the Code of Scientologists, point number 3, to refuse to accept for processing and to refuse to accept donations from any person or group I feel I cannot honestly help. Processing is another name for Scientology spiritual counseling. Scientology can free the human soul and deliver the body from pain. Man can save his soul. We know how. If man does not want to be saved, that is a decision man must make. Each one for himself. You have been invited you will be accepted. If you do not care to be accepted, that too is your freedom. Heaven waits. At least we have shut for some the yawning jaws of hell. L. Ron Hubbard has left us a bridge that will take us safely across the chasm to that freedom. All we have to do is follow that bridge to see exactly what that bridge consists of and what your next step is. Read What is Scientology? In it, you will find answers to all your questions and the exact path you should take up the bridge. Accept this invitation, then take your next step, or your first. And now for the announcements. Today at 4 o'clock, we will be broadcasting a special Easter sing-along on our Community Center Facebook page. Though we may not all be together in person, we still find ways for us to connect. And then on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, I'll give that again. On Tuesday at 8 o'clock, there will be a webinar on how to recover from losses and trauma. Is your past still haunting you? Do you find it hard to move on from something that happened in your past? Do you find upsets hang around for days, months, or even years? Is there a trauma or loss in your life that you're still trying to get over? If any of these questions you answered yes to, you should come to that webinar on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, delivered by Vincent. There should be a link that pops up under this. And next Sunday, you will be hearing Is It Possible to Be Happy? At 11 o'clock in L. Ron Hubbard's own voice. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So, I hope that you all can take this data in which you've got and utilize it for your next step or for your journey that you set out for yourself. And I hope that you all spend time to see that there is something that can be done about anything. Because man can save his soul. Thank you for coming to Sunday service, and I look forward to hearing from you again. But now we'll be reading the Scientology prayer for total freedom. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe. And may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want. Freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like. And freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. Thank you for coming to Sunday service. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Enter into a golden age. We are golden men. We are the new men. The new spiritual leaders of earth. We will prosper to that degree that we work. peace and palaces, to the degree that we maintain good order and reasonable conduct, and preserve or even create the sanity of man. You have waited for centuries past for the lessons, your freedom and man's freedom awaits your study and your skill. And for your dues and tax, I bid you please no longer beg, for begging days are past. And the Lord Buddha has such power now throughout the lands, achieved by his wisdom and your efforts, that you can and must demand your tax from all the countryside and rulers too, sufficient to sustain your societies and selves, for good you do, and by our great lessons, service you will render all, and so from each as he can pay, obtain your dues. But I forewarn, do not with greed collect, and take no more than you do need.
And hoard not, but spend as freely as you take.
And build not idle ornaments, but places for the use of men, demanding only that they bow to Buddha. And do I warn you, do not take that which is given grudgingly.